With the election only 3 and a bit weeks out, every morning on the Pacific Breakfast Show, we are looking at the issues, the candidates, the parties, policies and the stories to give you, our Radio 531 PI listeners, as much information to make an informed decision come election day, the 23rd of September. And as part of our countdown, our election countdown to the 23rd of September this morning, we welcome the national candidate for the Māngere electorate, Agnes Loheni. Agnes is the owner of the Pacific fashion brand Mena, and in 2010 was awarded the MIT Pacific Business Trust Pacific Exporter Awards. This is Agnes's first foray into politics. And on that note, we say a very warm welcome, Malo Soifua.
Oh, talofa lava, Brian, and good morning to all your listeners.
And thank you once again, Agnes, for your time this morning. Agnes, wow, a first foray into politics, and you've chosen a very exciting election to be part of. Why? You're a successful business woman, and why would you want to get into politics?
Very good question, Brian. Look, I've been working in the space of what I believe. I mean, it's about Pacific aspiration. That's what my business is about, and it wasn't just my business; it's a family business. And I've been standing on a platform of faith, family, and future in my campaign. That's been the key foundation of my campaign. So, moving into politics is just a natural extension of that political aspiration. I'm really proud of what I've done. I'm a mother of 5. I've worked really hard. I'm a working mum, like a lot of our women, and I've gotten a good education in life, and that's come from those values that my parents have instilled in me. And those, my parents came from Samoa, and so I'm an outcome of that opportunity, which is what they came here to New Zealand for. They came here for opportunity, and a big focus of that for my parents was education. So underlying all of that, as a mother, I'm really passionate about education, particularly for our South Auckland community.
Agnes, you talk about family and safety with regards to your campaign that you're running on, and you mentioned education. Can you elaborate a bit more on that as well for us in other areas?
So I guess for me, when I look at South Auckland, I see so much potential. We've got a huge community, and traditionally everyone thinks that it's still predominantly Pacific, but we've also got a lot of new migrant families moving into the electorate. And as a child of migrant parents, I understand some of the challenges there. And ultimately, it still comes down to ensuring that we have a really good foundation for education, but not only that we're providing some pathways, really good pathways and options and opportunities for our young people to move into, whether it's into further training in tertiary, whether it's into trades. But the other thing is that we've got to have a really strong economy to allow businesses to be confident and from which those jobs grow. And look, under the national government, there have been 10,000 new jobs every month for the last 18 months. And ultimately, for families, the opportunities are there. And so we've got jobs, but we want to ensure that people are still upskilling, so they can move into higher wage jobs. And it's also about being a party that can help inspire our young people.
Agnes, you talk about a strong economy and a business, and that your thoughts on the perception that with the current government, it is more business focused as opposed to, looking at our social issues in terms of social housing, the widening gap between...
It's an absolutely excellent question, because actually as a party, we have actually significantly invested into the social areas. A number of about $321 million is going into social investment, and that's being spread over a number of areas in education, housing, social housing, emergency housing, and just support services, and including mental health. Now, that investment, I think people need to realise that investment can't come if we don't have a strong economy. And our strong economy, most of our economy actually comes from small, medium businesses. 90% of our economy is not driven by large corporates. It's actually coming from small, medium, mum and dad businesses that actually employ the bulk of our population, of our working population. And unless we can ensure that we are sustaining the economy for those businesses, then we will not have the support that we can then put into that social investment area, which is about looking after the vulnerable people in our community. So they actually go hand in hand. You can't have one week to be able to provide for the other.
Agnes, in terms of the social housing again, just touching back on that, is it really an option to put people into motels? Do you see that as maybe or like a knee-jerk reaction in terms of current strategy, around social housing with the current government?
At the moment, the priority is to make sure that they are actually in a safe and dry place as the new, what are they called, temporary housing or emergency housing places are being built, and they are being built. And as more of them are being opened, then we can put less and less people into motels. So that is really just a temporary measure as the new developments are coming online, and more of these social housing providers are also coming online. So for social housing, I think people say that we've cut state houses. Actually, those have now been allocated to community to provide. So the government is backing community to also provide that service to those that are vulnerable. And if we can't get them into something straight away, they will go into a motel for as short a time as possible until something becomes available. Ultimately, it's about making sure that they are somewhere safe and dry.
Agnes, you've chosen to stand in the Māngere electorate, which historically, of course, has been a Labour stronghold. I mean, looking at the Pasifika launch of the Labour Party just over the weekend, why Māngere?
I believe that. I believe in the values of the National Party. I've come from a Labour background. I think as Pacific we generally do. But I think that I can make a better contribution in Māngere because I think it's about giving people a choice. I think that sometimes our vote is being taken for granted. I'm not saying all of it, but I think that when I've been out door knocking every night in Māngere, and I'm basically talking about myself and the values and what I believe the National Party brings, a lot of people aren't actually aware of policies anywhere. And so it's about just giving people a choice at the end of the day. I believe that, like Labour, I think we want the best for our communities, but we just have a different idea of how that can come about.
Agnes, I have to ask the question, why the change of allegiance, from Labour to National?
Oh, quite simply, my move away from Labour, is well, actually, I don't think I left Labour. I think Labour left me. And it's really about the fact that I don't believe that we should be encouraged to be, dependent on the state. I truly believe that true empowerment comes from being independent, working hard and supporting your own families and looking after your own communities. I think that the state should be there as a safety net for us, and of course things happen, and the state should be there to cover. But I don't believe that the state should encourage us to be, dependent on them.
And with that, we say a very big thank you. The national candidate for the Māngere electorate standing at this year's election, Agnes Loheni. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Agnes, and wishing you all the very best
very much.
in the
Thank
lead
you
up to the
very
23rd.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.